Welcome to the Edge of NFT. Today, we're bringing you the highlights from VeeCon 2024 in Los Angeles. We've got an exciting lineup of interviews. First, we have Matt Wasserlauf, the CEO of Blockboard, who discusses how blockchain is revolutionizing adtech. After that, we have artist Ali Sabet, who talks about persevering in Web3 art world and the future of digital creators. Finally, marketer and creator Swan Sit shares her perspective on Web3 and the latest breakthroughs in the space. Let's dive into these enlightening conversations from VeeCon 2024.
Welcome to the Edge of NFT, the podcast that brings you the top 1% of Web3 today and what will stand the test of time. We explore the nuts and bolts of the business side and also the human element of how Web3 is changing the way we interact with the things we love. This podcast is for the dreamers, disruptors, and doers who are pumped about this ecosystem and driving where it goes next.
Hello, this is Josh Krieger, host of Edge of NFT, and we're live at VeeCon 2024 in Los Angeles, California, my hometown. And I'm here next with Matt Wasserlauf, the CEO and founder of Blockboard. Great to have you on the show, Matt.
Great to be here. Thanks, Josh.
So I was really excited to learn a little bit about what you guys are doing, but I think you're probably the best person to sort of explain what Blockboard is all about to our audience.
Great. So thanks for having me. Matt Wasserlauf. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Blockboard. We're an outcome-based marketing platform built on the blockchain, which is why we're here at VeeCon. And what we do, in essence, is deliver those great business outcomes by removing all the waste, and we accelerate those outcomes using Gen AI. Block AI is what we call it. So we're out doing some pretty amazing things.
We'll talk a little bit about that, but I'm just curious, what brings you to VeeCon?
Yeah, so I've gotten to know VaynerMedia. So Gary Vaynerchuk's media company is a pretty prominent leading advertising agency in New York, where I'm from. And
I hear the accent. I don't know if you can pick up. I'm from Boston. I lost my accent.
Oh, there you go. All right, we'll have to talk about that after the show. But Gary's running an incredible company. This is his, obviously, flagship event. This is our first VeeCon. And as a big proponent of blockchain, we knew we had to be here. So that's why we're excited to be here.
Yeah, VeeCon's all about this mix of Web2, Web3 culture and entertainment, right? All topics we'd also like to cover on Edge of. So I guess like what sparked this sort of evolution of Blockboard and sort of when did you guys sort of kick off this initiative that you're doing with the blockchain?
So about 5.5 years ago, I've been a long pioneer, really, of the digital advertising industry. So 20 years ago, I started the first online video network called BBE. We built the first video ad serving system called Vindico. And so long time in the space and saw something that really concerned me, which was the waste. So the ANA did their report that came out last year, and they revealed that there's $22 billion of waste.
Define waste in the context of digital advertising?
Made for advertising sites. Sites that are built simply to siphon money off of that CPM stream that advertisers pay.
Wow.
And so $22 billion worth of it, I had an inkling that it was that big, and so I sought to do something about it and built Blockboard with my co-founder Tarun Yadav, who built a world-class platform on blockchain. And so that's what we're out to do, is really build a new way of driving great advertising for major marketers.
So basically, this is using blockchain to give brands a higher ROI on their ad spend?
Simply that, yes.
Cool. And what's been the traction so far?
Well, I started it during the pandemic, so it was hard goings, but found a couple of friendlies who really needed a solution. One that comes to mind is 8 o'clock coffee. My friend Mike Scalera was agonizing over the fact that no one was going to Starbucks during the pandemic, and he was not able to sell his bags of coffee, 8 o'clock coffee. And he appealed to me. He said, "Do you have something better?" And I said, "We do." And we exposed the two largest companies in the world, Google and Trade Desk, two largest video ad platforms. And we delivered sales. Neither of those companies did, and we were off and running.
Nice. So there's an AI component to all this, which you mentioned as well. Tell me a little bit more about how AI and blockchain integrate into your solution.
So when I started Blockboard, I didn't see the AI train coming, but I
don't know if any of us knew it was coming this fast, right? It's been like slowly coming around the corner for 10, 20 years, and then all of a sudden it's flying.
So we were out to save the world by using blockchain to fix this fraud problem, right? And when AI started to come to everyone's conscious a few years ago, my co-founder, turned to me and said, I'm going to test this. I'm going to see how this works on our blockchain foundation. And we were both intrigued. We tested a couple of accounts, one of which is Proactive, one of our largest brands. They're a skincare brand that cures acne. And boom, we saw over 200% lift in sales. And then we started using it on our other clients. We just did a test with knock-around sunglasses. Boom, 375% increase in sales. So we are really excited about the combination. We call it the power of two. When you apply AI on top of blockchain, what that does is the blockchain provides the security, so you know you're reaching the right people. And then you apply AI, Gen AI, and you reach them faster. And all of a sudden, you have a really lethal combination. And we call it the power of two, and it is working. We are now running around the world selling and promoting our new Block AI product, and everybody is really excited.
So let me ask you a question. A lot of the concerns with AI is sort of forged identity. And I would imagine for advertisers, similar like to their physical products that are constantly knocked out, they don't want, people impersonating their brand from a digital advertising perspective. Do you see what you're doing as sort of solving that problem now or in the future?
Most definitely now and in the future. So now we're not necessarily stopping people from mocking or creating a different ad, but the ad that we're given by an advertiser, we're protecting that creative. Not only are we protecting it, we're making sure it runs to the right people, the right places, and when we promote it, we're seeing the results in a way that we know we're securing those because we're writing it on a public ledger. So yes, it's doing all of that now, and as people try to play with that creative, we're going to protect that in the future.
So we're talking about traditional advertising KPIs like clicks, click-through, and conversions, and are you tracking that on the blockchain?
Yes, we're tracking all of those things on the blockchain. Where it doesn't really show, I think where your question was going, is those standard media metrics, the reach and frequency that, major brand marketers are always looking at. You're not going to see the difference there. But when you lean into those secondary KPIs, it makes a world of difference.
Very cool. I guess there's also like an environmental consideration around digital advertising as well. You can educate me and our audience there. What does that look like today, and sort of how are you thinking about sustainability?
So we're thinking about sustainability quite a bit. Now we have a lot going on with the power of two, but when you think about that third element, the sustainability element, the amount of emissions that we're saving, one in the fraud that we're removing, okay, there's a ton there. But now with AI and really relieving our marketers from having to do all those data hops, moving data around, there is a huge amount of waste that we're saving. And so we just notched a partnership with Net Zero. They're one of the largest industry orgs that's organizing around this. And we're going to start to measure and track just how much emission we're saving, because we know, just like I did with the fraud problem, that we're going to save the world a lot of emission, and we're kind of I'm making my North Star 3.7% of the world's emissions that are now being used by digital adtech. We're going to save that 3.7%.
Wow. Anything else on your roadmap that we didn't cover you wanted to mention?
You led me right down to those, I call it the hat trick. So blockchain, removing fraud, AI, accelerating outcomes, and sustainability, saving the world. That's what I wanted to cover, and you helped me cover those three.
All right, well, happy to do it. These are all interesting topics for our audience, so I appreciate all that. Taking a sort of broader perspective based on your ad tech background and sort of your immersion into blockchain, into Web3, into events like VeeCon and sort of this intersection of culture and entertainment, what do you see sort of in the future over the next 5 years that might surprise people, recognizing that maybe we didn't catch you didn't catch the train with AI, I didn't either, but at this point you're thinking about this day and night, right? So what's coming up?
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to be cleaner. You know, we're going to clean up what is a very toxic ecosystem. You know, I grew up in the TV business. You know, we all knew what the units of measure was. It was Nielsen ratings, for better or for worse. Everybody played by the rules, and we built an incredible TV industry built around major media companies that were creating world-class production. Digital advertising has grown up quite different, and I'm making it my legacy really to clean up what is a huge mess right now. That's really my focus. It's not a short-term thing. It's not a short-term fix. It's going to take us a little while. We're up against the largest companies in the world, who are the most capitalized companies in the world.
They're almost like countries. They're bigger than some.
They are the state.
They're bigger than many countries.
You're exactly right. So we have a lot of heavy lifting here in the near term, but my focus is cleaning up that mess.
Very cool. And if anyone wants to get on that crusade with you, I imagine, you know, at this point you're really looking for additional brands that would be interested in exploring your platform. But where should folks go to learn more about you guys?
Oh no, we're myblockboard.com is our URL. There's some gentleman out in Italy who has blockboard.com, so we'll save that for another time. We're myblockboard.com.
And are you on X personally?
I'm on X personally, yes.
Where do people find? Let's get you some follows.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, we're at Blockboard Co. Blockboard Co.
All right. Thanks for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Josh.
A quick word from our sponsors who's ready to navigate the cutting edge of tomorrow's legal landscape. Because at Zuber Lawler, they're not just attorneys, they're visionaries. With expertise in emerging technologies like AI, blockchain, and the metaverse, they're paving the way for you to seize the future. For mergers and acquisitions to IP, their selective team delivers strategic solutions tailored to the ever-changing world of technology. Join us at Zuber Lawler, where the future meets the law at zuberlawler.com. Back to the episode.
Hi everyone, this is Josh Krieger, host of Edge of NFT. I'm live at VeeCon 2024 in Los Angeles, California, meeting with all the great luminaries hanging out here. I have Ali Sabet, an OG in the Web3 space and an icon. It's really an honor to finally have you on the show. You've been at Outer Edge. We've talked so many times, but I think this is the first time we're like officially recording some content together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful being a part of your journey over the past few years, watching you grow from, the first Outer Edge, which was NFT LA, to the one that I spoke at, which is, I think, last year.
Yeah.
And
I don't know, it all blurs together, right?
I don't even know where we are right now. We're at VeeCon now, which is...
Yeah, what brings you to VeeCon? I know you're speaking here. What's sort of on your mind these days?
You know, as far as VeeCon goes, I think the community has been a really lovely, warm, accepting community. I didn't have a VeeFriend, but I was gifted one just recently. And I was
Which one?
The dragon.
Nice.
Yeah, because I'm a dragon. This is the year of the dragon. And I also got a chance to actually create for the VeeFriends community just recently. I gifted, I think, 550 paintings, editions of one of my paintings for the gift code community. So that was really cool. And just being, meeting the people, Nick and Daniel, all the guys that are running the show, they've just been so kind, and asking me to speak here is definitely one of the reasons I'm here.
Right on. Yeah, they do a really great job. It's a fun event, a lot of different activities going on, music. Ed Balloon kicked it off with a great performance.
Always does.
I see folks with your art, so clearly you're finding some time to sketch here and there.
Absolutely.
So you've been an icon in the space for the whole sort of era of NFTs growing, evolving, having their highlights and their challenges.
Right.
I'd love to sort of get your perspective on how you have endured and persevered through the highs and lows.
So the highs were easy, right? The highs were fun. There were, I wouldn't say easy. There was a lot of hard work that was put into creating the artwork, making sure you had an audience, and turning some of that audience into a community that actually cared about what you were doing, and then building programs, I call them programs, where it's exciting for people to collect the artwork.
I love that. I haven't heard that term, programs, but that makes a lot of sense. They're not projects. They're not necessarily like always companies, but they're programs that could be short form programs or long form mini series, sequels, right?
Absolutely. I'm doing what's coming up is Ultra Kitties, which is 888 101 kitties and on ordinals, where the first project or program was Skull Kitties, which was 3,000 cats, right? So, and then there's going to be a trade-in program, and that bring 3 Skull Kitties and get 1 Ultra Kitty. So those programs are important because it makes it more exciting for people to engage and have fun. When things are available, it's not about FOMO. I have hoodies on my website that you can purchase right now. But unless it's tied to a drop that's limited, that's only 21 of them left, and so on and so forth, I think that's when it gets exciting for people to want to collect the work, whether it's a hoodie or an NFT or a piece of art, versus, my website having all 21, hoodies available all the time. It just doesn't excite anyone. It's not about FOMO, it's about excitement, and those programs are very important. Educating your audience about those programs and how you do work and how you got there is also really, really important, because without without education, nobody's going to know who you are and what you do and why you're here.
I think, when you think about it, our roots as humans in a sort of trading society, it's always been about limited editions. Like, if you're the person in the village that can make something no one else can make, and there's only so much of your time and materials to make it, it becomes a more precious resource, right? So I really do look at the evolution of digital scarcity as sort of just evolution of culture.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, when I started, as far as scarcity goes, I don't know if you were part of that early times when I was being, asked not to mint anymore. I was being asked to stop minting. I was asked not to share as much. And I took offense to it because as an artist, that was the way I was making a living. And I called it out as like, this is faux scarcity. This is fake scarcity. And that's where the term fuck scarcity came. And I actually did an entire collection underneath it. I did an NFT where I gifted it to everyone. Now that NFT actually trades for quite a bit.
Nice.
Which is, I did a 101 that was named Fuck Scarcity, and that sold for 5 ETH. There was only one. So there was these things that I played with because I wanted to let people know just because we mint and sell a lot of work doesn't mean that, we don't respect the scarcity of the work. It just means that every piece that you mint has its own level of scarcity. I have hundreds and hundreds of pieces that have minted as editions. And once those editions are gone, that piece is scarce. There's 30 editions or 100 or 7,000, but there's a limit, right? It just depends on how big your audience and community is and if you have demand for your work.
Do you think there's still room in the NFT space for new artists, or should they wait until the market heats up a little bit more? And sort of the prediction is that will come sort of, late Q4, Q1.
I don't think there's a bad time to enter the space ever. I think the sooner you get in and you start getting to know people and build friendships and real community, which is to me is like real one-on-one friendships. We've known each other for so long and there's really no ulterior motive to knowing each other. It's just a matter of like how things work out and how we can help each other over time. So I believe that there's no bad time to get in. And if you're thinking about the market or there's so many artists out there, that's a competitive mindset. And the only way you succeed and have longevity is to come from a creative mindset. Create your path. For the market might be bad for everybody else, but for you, it could be amazing because you come from a creative mindset and you're building your path that way.
Speaking of creativity, you use a lot of different mediums. Do you approach each medium in a similar way or differently? And what are some new mediums that you're experimenting with?
So I tend to paint both in the physical realm and digitally. When I mess around with physical, I always try to figure out how I can turn it into digital and save the pop and the energy that it's embedded in that piece in the version that's digital. When I paint digitally, I also make sure that how much energy and love I can put into that digital piece, that it shows itself, where it's not just a few lines that, that people see. Maybe it's a simple piece, but how do I make the most impact with those 2 or 3 lines, right? So I play with all right now. The past 6 months, I've been doing a lot of pixel art because I've been entering the ordinals community with Swan Sit.
Same here. Everyone's entering. You can't escape what's going on over there. I'll be at the Pizza Ninja and BitLayer event in Korea, Blockchain Week, and have supported a lot of their events so far. I hold a Pizza Ninja, so.
Oh, that's awesome. You're going to be excited to know that Ultra Kitties is going to have 10 101 Pizza Ninja style characters in it by Boozy.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, so people are going to be digging for those. There's going to be about 1,000 of originals, but all 101s by me, but there's going to be a few other character artists. But that's what it's about. It's about that collaboration, that creativity, that putting people together. And for me, to limit myself to go more minimal because of the limitations that I have from a standpoint of my digital output for ordinals, I had to go to something even more limited. But I had to feel authentic. I had to feel real. So I had to find that part of me that loves pixels and the 80s culture and the punk culture.
For Game Boy, I had those individual games that you had to buy that were like $20 back then. And I actually created an arcade on, I think I was 6 years old, on my porch with all those different games. And I was charging kids in my neighborhood to play the games until like their parents complained to my mom. And that was like my first entrepreneurship journey. So yeah, I created my own arcade.
Yeah, you can. That's beautiful, man. Now, see what you're doing now. Who would have thought?
Yeah. It all comes back around, right? Like, I also did interviews when I was 5 years old for my local paper. And I didn't even realize it so recently, like how it came back around to this point in my career, because I've done technology and consulting and all sorts of different fun stuff.
Sure.
And now here I am reliving my 5-year-old self.
That's amazing. It's a dream, right?
That's the dream. It's the dream. It's a lot of fun talking to amazing folks like you. You mentioned one of your upcoming projects. Are you messing around with AI at all?
I did for a while. It was fun when I could feed it some of my own work and sketches and have it to riff off of it and build out things. I mean, to put words in a computer and have it spit out work by, in a minute or whatever, it's exciting to see. I see it as a tool. I was a graphic designer for 20 years and a branding guy. So for me, all these tools didn't scare me necessarily. They just, I'm like, all right, it's just something else I have to learn. There is the downside of some people feeling like their artwork is being ripped off. The fact that you can say paint a Sabet and it'll paint a woman with flowers in her hair and all that stuff can get a little weird. But I didn't, for me, it didn't bother me. I've used it. I'll continue to use it for different purposes. It makes things a lot easier when you're trying to do a marketing piece or you need a reference of something. But I wouldn't probably, as an artist that loves to get his hands dirty, you probably won't see me relying on AI in the capacity of creating original work.
Makes sense. So this has been really insightful, and we'll have to have a deeper dive at some point in the future. Before we wrap, I wanted to get your perspective more broadly on this sort of intersection of Web3, culture, technology, and entertainment, and where you think it's going. We're at VeeCon. A lot of these worlds are converging. Do you have any sort of perspective on the years ahead and what they might bring that might surprise some folks?
Oh, man. I mean, with technology, AI, robotics, all the stuff that we're seeing, I'm not the best at foretelling the future, but I feel like it's going to be really exciting. As long as we can kind of tune out all the negativity and the fear mongering that's going on, and all, you know, everything else. I think there is definitely a bright future for everything this is just the tip of the iceberg. I feel. I think we're at the beginning stages of, you know, we always say we're early and all that stuff. I get it, but this feels archaic to me compared to what it's going to be. I mean, imagine our cell phones, what they were only 13 years ago?
Yeah.
17 years ago? And it's where we are now. So I'm excited to
We're basically humanoids.
Yeah. I mean, you're glued to that thing, so it might as well be inside you. You know what I mean? But no, as far as art and technology converging and Web3 and Web2, I think all those monikers are going to disappear. It's just going to be one thing. But probably not a great answer. But
No, it's perspective, and I think, you know, I won't hold you to it. Hey, you said this. No, I think at the end of the day, no one does have that crystal ball, and how fast things are moving makes it that much more difficult to predict. But I'm excited about how all this stuff is coming together, and for the future of social media, the future of entertainment, the future of art. That's what keeps me interested in what we do every day, which is have conversations with folks like you.
yeah, I love this. I mean, at the end of the day, no matter how advanced it gets, it's going to come back to relationships and us having conversations about it, right? So,
Yeah, you know, we just had Krista Kim on our other Edge of AI show, and she was at our Edge Riyadh, and she talked about sort of one of her projects is sort of the biorhythm of the heartbeat, and how that is an imprint that is original, sort of an individual across all humans on Earth.
that's interesting.
And how she's sort of turning that into an art culture project.
I would really love to see that, because lately, the past few years, I've had this heart issue where tachycardia and my heart rhythm goes up and all that stuff.
Oh, wow. So you have a unique heartbeat.
Yeah, I got the crazy-ass heartbeat. And lately, I've been thinking about doing a project, an ordinals project, where I capture myself painting visually, like I'm painting with Japanese brushes, but I'm also attached to an EKG machine. And I want to see the correlation between my strokes and my heartbeat.
Oh, wow.
And minting the specific parts of my heartbeat and then correlating it to the video.
All right. So, yeah, well, Chris is in LA.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe we could do something together.
yeah, I'll have to chat with her about what you just shared. That's really cool. Yeah. So you're here first on Edge of NFT.
Yeah, that's cool.
Thanks for spending some time together.
Absolutely.
Where do folks go first if they want to dive down the Ali Sabet rabbit hole?
You can go to sabet.art, sabet.art, and you can find me at Sabet, Sabet, on Instagram and Twitter, or X as it's known now. Other than that, I'll try to be everywhere.
Yeah, or just come to any IRL event that's sort of bringing together the Web3 community, and I run into you at all of them. So
yeah, kind of meet me, find me, I'll draw you something.
All right, great to see you.
Thanks a lot, brother. I appreciate you, Jeff.
And now for a quick word from our sponsor before we dive into the next segment. Are you ready to take your sports predictions to the next level? Look no further than maincard.io, the fantasy management platform that's taking the blockchain world by storm. With MainCard, every card is a ticket to excitement. You can predict sport outcomes, trade cards in the marketplace, and challenge opponents in thrilling weekly duels. And don't wait. Head to maincard.io now and start earning rewards with your NFTs, because it pays to be early. And now back to today's episode.
Hello, everyone. This is Josh Krieger, host of Edge of NFT, live at VeeCon 2024 in my hometown, Los Angeles. My second hometown. You all know him from Boston. And I'm here with none other than Swan Sit. It's great to see you IRL again in LA.
Exciting to be here. We've known each other for years. We've been through the grind together, and I'm super excited VeeCon's in your town.
Yeah, me too. For those listeners who were born yesterday, Swan is a global leader in marketing, and she was previously with Nike, Estee Lauder, and Revlon. She's a creator with millions of followers, as well as known previously as the Queen of Clubhouse. She works a lot of brands around sort of how to evolve their technology strategies, and we'll talk a little bit more about that today.
Absolutely excited.
So, last time we sort of actually connected IRL was at, I think, Outer Edge 2023, and it's been, it's a light year ago in terms of, the space. And you were on a panel then talking about sort of the future of brands and whatnot. And I think, your point then was agility. I'm curious, sort of in the realm of advising companies in this space, what's been the trajectory they've taken in the last few years, and where are you sort of pushing them towards?
Absolutely. Well, first, my best memory from that year was you put me on stage with William Shatner. So thank you for that opportunity. And I think it's a testament to the types of people and brands getting into this space and realizing that Web3 is not a thing you sell. It's a technology that powers everything we do, like early days of the internet.
Absolutely.
So I've been really proud to continue working with the same companies I advise, with the same brands I advise, but people are starting to realize that it's not a thing, right? Like if I ask you your favorite music, you might say rock, jazz, or hip hop. You don't say MP3. The same way we don't sell NFTs, we might sell music or track loyalty and purchases or data about consumers. It's a technology.
100%.
So the way that the companies have evolved that are using Web3 correctly, I think are really exciting because they solve real world problems, right? So go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say there's now sort of this post-mortem on their first phase of Web3 where some folks are saying, PFPs were ultimately our worst enemy because they sort of sent folks in a different direction around speculation and sort of distracted folks from the really potential power of NFTs. I think there's more to it than that, but I do appreciate how these other use cases didn't get enough spotlight back then, and now they're coming to the surface.
Right. Well, I think PFPs were good and bad, right? Just like most things in history. They were good in that they excited people about learning about something new. And we got tons of people into the space that never would have even come to it, including me, and a bunch of people who've left, which I'm sure will come back. But they were bad because you need the speculation to draw people in. There's innate things about human nature that like upside, that like risk, right? But it probably did it a disservice because that's all people knew was Bored Apes. And we're like, no, there's this whole blockchain technology. But it's the same thing that happened with internet stocks early. Some of the valuations were insane and then it crashed. The same thing happened to us. In fact, I predicted the crash for PFPs 4 months before it happened on Randy Zuckerberg's show. And everyone's like, oh, you're such a hater. And I'm like, no, it's just market dynamics. It's supply and demand. And so I think we've all gotten smarter collectively since. The people that have stayed have pivoted the businesses to solve problems, right? Like I advise Absolute. They're a company that does Web3 wallet CRM. They are now the Web3 wallet and CRM of record of all of LVMH's brands globally. Nice. How important is it for a luxury company to know what its consumers are doing? It's huge, right? Zipline's in that space too. They are giving a platform for brands to truly collaborate with their community to make products together and reward people in the community.
Very cool. What kind of products?
Anything from like handbags to shoes. They're working with some of the brands that you know and love, and they're backed by Google. So that's all I can say, but keep an eye out because think about a platform community members can come express ideas. Brands can co-collaborate and just push product out the door.
Yeah, I love that. We just talked about on our Hot Topics show the collaboration with Steve Aoki and Steppen on the new shoe line.
Totally.
Right? Like that's a great example of using all this different technology stacked together, right?
Exactly. Instead of just saying, hey, go dance with Steve Aoki, there's a product behind it, there's stickiness, there's a long tail and actual product and value consumers can hang on to, And then I think the other side of it, there's practical use for consumers and brands, but there's technology evolving too. I advise Cosmic Wire, and they have the first fully interoperable platform. So right now we use a lot of bridges, right? We freeze a contract on one asset, we bridge it over to the other, but it's actually still in two places as two different things. It's not elegant and it's vulnerable because you can brute force attack the original asset. You know how Swift works for currencies? Literally in one time and space, it actually is the same thing on two places and two currencies at once. They've managed to do that for different chains, and they have an API to plug into any system.
And this is out already?
It's being launched soon. They're looking for partners, so that's all I can disclose. But the idea is now you have true on and off ramps between chains and between multiple currencies and fiat. So that'll make all the back end messiness. Like I still don't know where my Arbitrum is, but all that will go away because it's just hidden in the back end.
All right. Well, we're on the edge of NFT. We like to talk about things at the edge. So you heard it here first. And we'll have to get Cosmic Fire, Jared, on the show to learn more about what they're doing. That's really cool.
Absolutely. I think one last one I think that's really cool is what Vadim is doing with an NFT. It's a fungible, non-fungible token. And so what we always had is a separation, right? You have these like fungibles as tokens we trade and we, treat as a currency almost, or a stock. And then you have NFTs, which are soul-bound and have unique identifiers. Imagine something that's both at the same time, right? And they've done really good work with brands. Like with Pepsi, they had over 400,000 people sign up for a wallet during the World Cup without knowing it's a wallet. So now think about what this technology does for brands needing to actually create digital products, track behaviors, have almost like a digital currency without ever calling it that,
Yeah, I mean, for full disclosure, I can tell you now that actually we're working very closely with the Vadim team.
Oh my God, keep it in the family. Amazing, right?
Actually, this past year, I interviewed Eric and we announced and showed a live working demo, him and Greg, at the Vadim house of this technology. So pretty amazing stuff. And, there's a separate entity that's sort of building underlying tech, and Vadim will be one of the key integration partners using all their expertise on working with brands. They've done more brand collabs, I think, than anyone in the space, and they understand the power of something like that. I'm really excited about it because ultimately there's, people talking about the challenge with NFTs and their liquidity issues, and fractionalization has its challenges as well. But there's also challenges with tokens and how fast they move and how slippery they can be. We've seen that time and time again. Things have not sort of shifted in that way. There's still a correlation with the markets. It's still the little guy getting beat up all the time. So we need ways to gamify both NFTs and regular traditional fungible tokens to sort of support both economies being more not only more stable, but also more fun and more interactive with their end consumers and stakeholders.
Yeah. It's more flexible too, because at any given time you'll want to pulse different things. So our technology used to limit us. But I see the big trends either in consumers and brands moving towards things that are usable in a consumer retail space, or the technology becoming more flexible so it doesn't become a limiter. It's actually a platform of lots of different options, and then you can actually create the business on top of it. Right? So it's, one or each side. That's where I see companies evolving.
Just a follow-up point there is, things have been a little bit challenging in the U.S. Obviously, where the Ripple case was a major settlement this past week. There might be some policy changes on the forefront. We'll see. But what I've been really impressed with in my global travels this year is how many Web3 brand use cases are actually already exist in the world and we are talking about. Have you sort of also come to that reality? Like there's a wing company, ShibWing, so it's just on the show, that's using crypto to support their group of customers around loyalty in Australia. It's the number one wing company in Australia. So I think there's a lot of sort of skittishness here that's sort of people are coming back to the pool again and trying out the water. But we have a lot of global examples where it's actually working.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a wing company in Australia. There is a tiny pizza company in Cannes in France, which is where I think the next ETHCC will be.
Okay.
There are lots of examples of this because I did this keynote at ETH Denver a few years ago, and people asked me about mass adoption. I was like, hide the tech, make it easy to use, which are not the same thing, right? We don't want to see what chain you're on. You don't want to have to deal with like multiple logins. So hide the tech, but make it easy to use so it's seamless and it's as natural as it is buying something online, but have a purpose, right? Whether it's a free beer with your wings or loyalty points, something, right? If those things aren't sticky, we never cross this chasm into mass adoption. And it's fun to see people coming back, not for the hype, but to build real businesses off of it. Some hype is fun, and there's still a lot of meme coins. I haven't touched them because for me they're dangerously close to securities. But I think the use of how it's going to transform businesses, to be honest, sometimes smaller ones, because I was in Portofino and there's a restaurant that takes Bitcoin for payment. Wow. I think smaller companies are going to beat the big ones because they don't have as many barriers, they're not as afraid. And when the owner of a small company gets it and just turns on that on-ramp, it's golden.
That is the ultimate form of mass education. And there was a line around ShibWings. Someone was really excited to be the first person to pay in crypto. It's innovation, right? So Speaking of innovation, where are you going next with some of the projects that you're advising? Anything you can talk about at this moment?
Actually, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk about it, but we signed the paperwork today. I just joined in as advisor to District. Now, I know the first half of this, we talked all about utility for brands and retail. We talked about tech, but I still think, and this is in my heart, and I know it's in yours too, there's still the spirit of Web3 degens who want to be in a community together. And so I came across District, and do you remember early Web3 vibes, those late night clubhouse rooms, the Discords, you just hang out and everyone would be in it together? Like, I got vibes from that, which is not easy nowadays.
People are raising money in these late night sessions, so it's pretty crazy.
I mean, I get those vibes from projects that have still a pretty decent floor, not from new ones. I feel hype from meme coins, but I'm not feeling community where people hang out before a mint happens.
True, authentic community in most cases, right?
Right. Well, we talked about community lots over the years, right? I mean, it's the commonality of purpose meets frequency of touch. Believe in the same thing and meet often enough to feel included with the community. But what I think District is doing is really cool, which is why I raised my hand to join. They're building this incubator for business. The base layer is a community that we know and love, but it's an incubator for people to co-invest and co-build, and it's going to be shepherded by this 111 group of people that are the tastemakers and leaders of Web3. And it's organic, right? People like Betty have joined on, etc. The founders have deep roots in Web3, right? It's JR from Oniforce. It's Taylor, who minted CryptoPunks. Keeli, who was co-founder of Paradigm Sports. They managed Conor McGregor. So these are real business people. But you have like people like Iggy Azalea raising her hand, not as a meme coin mint, but like, I want to be a part of this community that shapes the future of an ecosystem that builds together. And I just haven't seen people raise their hand before a mint, knowing what a mint price is or what it's even going to be, saying, I want to be a tastemaker in the future. In fact, I think it's something you should look at too.
I'm definitely going to check it out. It sounds really cool.
So I signed on because I think they're building community the right way. There's a purpose to actually incubate businesses or co-investments or projects out of it. And it's truly being vetted by the community to elect their own tastemakers, right? These 111 are going to be the ones who shape the direction of this. Kind of the way DAOs are supposed to work, but I think in a much more transparent, upfront way.
That's very cool. Yeah, I've seen some mobilization like this in the ordinals community, yes. But not more broadly. There hasn't been this sort of Renaissance thinking, I guess, at scale. What are your thoughts, by the way, on ordinals?
I think it's great. I mean, to be fair, like Bitcoin being a finite number that will only decrease is the most salient characteristic of that. And the fact that you can write on them makes it kind of like the NFT, right? It actually changes the perspective of what you can use it for. This mint is going to be on ordinals as well.
Okay.
So I think there's an incredible opportunity to take a resource that's only getting scarcer that probably has not maybe right now the most utility, but the most ability to appreciate. Not speculatively, but just by supply and demand metrics, right?
And essentially you have a peg.
Yeah, essentially. And so to inscribe on that and to build a community that's based around winning together, not just, because like back in the day when we won together, it felt like a craps table, right? You're all friends until you crap out and then everyone goes their own way. This hasn't even minted. There's not even plans leaked for it. I think it's on its way. I can't confirm. But people are in. They're like, we're here. Let's wait to see what happens. And the lore and the fun, it felt like early Web3 days. So in a very contrarian way, I went backwards into some of the old feels because I think there's room for all of those. So I think there's a place for both. Hardcore tech that solves problems, but community, space for people to be together, to form. And I think we need that more than ever since COVID. I think technology allows us to do that. But measuring the value of community was virtually impossible before, right? It's because it's not about number of fans or followers. That's a vanity metric. It's only slightly directional. But it's like gravity. Community, you know it, you can feel it. It's hard to measure. PFPs gave us a way to do that. And I still think there's space for it. I just don't think there's space for 2 million projects like that.
Absolutely. Well, I got to give a shout out to Pizza Ninjas. I'm a holder, and they're actually collaborating with Bitler in Korea on a whole week of takeover. But I've seen sort of what they've done with community building, IRL and virtual, and how the ordinals community has come together in Seoul coming up, but also it's in Hong Kong and Lisbon. the Ordinals movement is alive and well, and there's a real true sense of community there. So I think, we have sort of this, the Phoenix is rising for Web3 again, and it's going to be a fun flight for the next few months, and really appreciate your insights on the space as always. It's great to catch up with you. Do people still where do you recommend people track you down, X, or where should they start?
X and Instagram are the same, all one word, Swan Sit, same on Discord as well. A mix of different things. I'm flying around, still being a nomad, speaking at conferences. A lot of my time is teaching people about new technology. That was my job when I was head of digital at Nike Revlon. First it was teaching them e-com, then it was teaching them social, and now it's blockchain and AI. So yeah, find me on socials or my website, also swansit.com.
All right, thanks, Swan. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on Edge of NFT reflect solely those views and opinions of the show hosts and its guests. Please make sure to do your own research. Our show is not financial advice. You understand that you are using any and all information available on or through this podcast at your own risk. Whenever making financial decisions, we recommend doing your own research and talking to your accountant for financial advice. From time to time, we may feature sponsored content on the show for which we receive value, and we may share links for which we receive a commission if you make a purchase through one of those links. Refer to our website, www.edgeofnft.com, for our full disclaimer, terms and conditions, and privacy policy.